we're getting a divorce. Which of us do you girls want to live with? Sally, our oldest, was the first to speak up. I want to stay with Dad, she said firmly. What? Kevin, my husband, was visibly taken aback by her response. Molly, our second daughter, immediately joined in. I want to stay with Dad too, she agreed. Even the twins voiced their preference to stay with their father. Kevin's face seemed to drain of color as he processed their words. If that's what the kids want, it's your responsibility to care for them, I reminded him, calmly. I'm Sarah, 45, an office worker. I married Kevin when I was 25, and although we've had our fair share of arguments and even close calls with divorce, we somehow made it work for 20 years, largely because of our children. We have 4 kids. Sally, our eldest, is finishing high school. Molly, our second, is in her sophomore year, and the twins are in 8th grade. We never intended to have such a large family, but they all get along well, and Kevin and I were managing fine. As the kids have grown older, I've been able to focus more on my career, especially since we live in a house my grandfather left us. There's no rent or mortgage, so the financial strain is lighter. Watching my children grow up has been a great joy. Sally is applying to colleges, and we support her by preparing late-night snacks as she studies. As the kids have gotten older, Kevin and I have also found more time for ourselves, partly thanks to the kids pitching in with chores. Kevin's job change has made a huge difference in his mood. He's more relaxed, smiles more often, and even suggests family vacations now. He's truly been a great husband and a devoted father. This year marks our 20th wedding anniversary, and the kids had planned a celebration, but something happened just before we could mark the occasion. One evening, at dinner, Molly seemed off. She wasn't engaging much, and I could tell something was troubling her. I thought it might be stress or just the typical teenage stuff, but after dinner, I decided to talk to her. Molly, can we chat for a minute? I asked gently. Mom. She responded quietly. Is everything okay? You seemed a little down today, I asked, sensing something was wrong. Yeah, she replied, uncertain. When you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen, I said, preparing to leave her room. Just as I was about to turn away, she stopped me. Wait, she said, and I paused, reopening the door. Actually, she trailed off, leaving the words hanging. My heart skipped a beat, wondering what she was about to say. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she dropped a bombshell. I saw Dad with a woman I don't know, she said, her words cutting through the silence. What? I gasped, shocked and trying to process what she was telling me. Maybe it was someone from work, I suggested, trying to come up with an explanation. No, Molly shook her head. They were too close. I was stunned. Was Kevin cheating on me? I didn't have hard proof, but the closeness she described left little room for doubt. I'm sorry you had to see that, I said, feeling a mix of sorrow and confusion. Why are you apologizing? You didn't do anything wrong, Mom, Molly reassured me. But it must have been hard to sit there at dinner with Dad, pretending everything was fine, I said, guilt weighing heavily on me. Yeah. She muttered quietly. Thank you for telling me. That was really brave of you, I said, grateful for her honesty. I'll get to the bottom of it, I promised, determination rising in me. I couldn't shake the sadness, both for Molly and for myself. If Kevin was cheating, it was unacceptable. How could he plan a family vacation while betraying us? Was it all just a facade? I needed more proof, so I reluctantly decided to hire a private investigator. Weeks passed, and finally, I received the results. The truth was undeniable. Kevin had been having an affair. The news hit me like a ton of bricks. I had secretly hoped it wasn't true, but now there was no turning back. I sat down with Molly to break the news. Her reaction mirrored my own disbelief. She had always seen Kevin as a role model, so I could only imagine how much this hurt her. I can't believe it. Dad? Molly whispered, her voice filled with disbelief. Mom, you're going to divorce him, right? She asked, her eyes searching mine for confirmation. Yes, I replied, my voice heavy with the weight of the decision. Well, I need to talk to the other girls and see what they want, Molly said, her voice firm. I can't stand having a dad who would do this to you, she added. Okay, I'll gather everyone so we can talk, I said, bracing myself for a difficult conversation. It was a Saturday, and the kids were all home. Kevin claimed he had work, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I sat down with the girls and told them what had happened. Their reactions mirrored mine: shock, disbelief, and anger. Unbelievable, one of them muttered, voicing what we all felt. Sally looked sick to her stomach. That's disgusting, she said, disgusted and upset. Even the twins, still in middle school, understood the weight of what was happening. Do you think I should divorce Dad? I asked them, hoping to gauge their feelings. Without hesitation, they all nodded in agreement, saying they would stay with me after the divorce. With that, it became clear that continuing the marriage was no longer an option. When Kevin came home, I waited until he settled in before confronting him. Sitting him down on the couch, I braced myself for the hard conversation. I need to talk to you, I began. Before I could say anything else, he interrupted. I'm sorry, I've been having an affair, he blurted out, catching me off guard. Huh? Why are you telling me this? I was stunned by his sudden confession. She's pregnant, he added, throwing another bombshell my way. Pregnant? I echoed, my mind racing. I never expected him to confess like this, let alone reveal that the woman was carrying his child. So, you want to be with her? I asked, trying to keep my emotions in check. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sarah, I want a divorce. You can have the kids, he said, his voice almost apologetic but his words still hurtful. Is he seriously trying to justify this? Does he think that offering me custody of the children somehow makes this easier? You've got to be kidding me. You really think you can just be so selfish? I shot back, my anger flaring. But she's pregnant, he said, as if that explained everything. You're the ones who weren't careful. This is on you, I replied, frustration rising. It has nothing to do with me, he retorted coldly. How can you say that? I said, shaking my head, unable to believe what I was hearing. Kevin began packing his bags without an ounce of remorse. I'm going to be with her, so think it over, he said nonchalantly, as he walked out, unfazed by the wreckage he'd left behind. The kids burst into the living room, their faces a mix of fury and disbelief. I can't believe this. What was he thinking, talking about us like that? I said, my anger bubbling over as I looked at my daughters. I hate him, one of them declared, her words echoing the feelings we all shared. They were beyond angry at their father for his selfish behavior. Having overheard my plan to divorce Kevin and witnessed his arrogant attitude, they were more than upset. I was furious too, astounded by his audacity. The kids started talking among themselves, and then, much to my surprise, they came up with a suggestion. At first, I was caught off guard, but after some thought, I decided to trust them and go along with their idea. A week later, Kevin returned, briefly. Are you ready to get divorced now? My girlfriend's pregnant, so I want to marry her as soon as possible, he said flatly. I could only sigh, the weight of his selfishness wearing me down. Fine, let's get the divorce, I said, keeping my tone short. Great, thanks, he said as he handed me the divorce papers. As I skimmed through them, I brought up the subject of custody. We need to talk about custody, I began. Huh? Kevin looked at me, slightly uneasy. Well, the girls have already made up their minds. They want to live with you, I said calmly, though I was sure he wouldn't like what was coming. They don't want to live with a dad who had an affair and got another woman pregnant, right? Kevin was taken aback. Oh, so you do get it, he said defensively. All right, let's get them in here, I suggested, calling the girls into the room. We need to discuss this. They know everything, I told him bluntly. They know about the affair, and they know about the pregnancy. Kevin nervously looked around as the girls entered. I posed the question directly. We're getting a divorce. Who do you girls want to live with? I asked. Sally, our eldest, was the first to speak. I want to live with Dad, she said without hesitation. What? Kevin was stunned, his eyes wide with shock. Molly, our second daughter, followed suit. Me too. I want to stay with Dad, she said, adding her voice to the growing consensus. Even the twins chimed in, expressing their desire to live with their father. Kevin looked like he was going to faint, but he managed to ask in confusion, wait, why do you all want to be with me? Why do you care? The girls didn't give a clear answer but stood firm in their decision. I turned to Kevin and reminded him, well, if that's what they want, you're responsible for taking care of them. Reluctantly, Kevin agreed to assume responsibility for all 4 children. Since the house we lived in was mine, he had no choice but to leave. When he told Jennifer, his new girlfriend, about the kids, she was furious. Nonetheless, they found an apartment and started living together. The divorce finalized, and Kevin and Jennifer were ordered to pay child support. Since Kevin had a stable job, I wasn't required to pay anything. The children stayed with me on weekends but spent their weekdays at Kevin's new apartment. 2 months later, things were far from smooth. Kevin and Jennifer's patience was running thin. They arrived at my house one day, visibly frustrated. "Are the girls always like this? They're so selfish, we can't take it anymore," Kevin shouted, his frustration clear. Jennifer added, "How did they turn out like this? They complain every day." I couldn't help but find their outbursts amusing, though I remained calm. "They're good girls. They always helped around the house when they lived with me and never complained." But Kevin and Jennifer continued to vent, complaining about expenses and the girls' behavior. "That's your problem, not mine," I replied coolly. "You two are raising them now. It's your responsibility." Kevin muttered about having to find a place with enough bedrooms for the girls. "It's way over my budget," he complained. "Well, you're the one who put yourself in this situation," I said firmly. "And by the way, Sally and Molly share a room, the twins share, and you two are in one room. The girls didn't ask for separate rooms, they're fine with sharing, so maybe you should be thankful." Kevin snapped, "That's not the point." "Whatever. I can't believe you would get involved with a girl so young, she's only 2 years older than Sally." "You're the one who betrayed me," I shot back, "so don't come at me like that. Please leave now." Suddenly, Kevin and Jennifer seemed to panic. "Wait, please wait," Kevin pleaded. "I came here to ask. I want you to take them back. We can't handle it anymore." I raised an eyebrow. "All right, I felt sorry for them having to live with someone as terrible as you in the first place, but you'll be paying child support until all of them come of age." "What? No way, that's going to be way too expensive," Kevin protested. "Well, if it's too much for you, they can just stay with you," I replied without hesitation. Okay, Kevin relented. Jennifer, however, was far from pleased. "Wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up for. We're dealing with all of this, and we still have to pay child support too. I want a divorce," she erupted, revealing her true intentions. "What? Wait, what about the baby?" Kevin stammered. "There is no baby," Jennifer admitted coldly. Kevin's face fell. "What? I told you I was pregnant to get you to divorce her. I thought it would get me the life I wanted, but now, we're stuck in debt. And I'm done, goodbye," Jennifer said, walking out without a second glance. I urged Kevin to leave, warning him that I'd call the police if he didn't go. Panicking, he bolted out the door. I later followed through with the legal steps to reclaim custody of my children and secured child support from Kevin. The payments were a heavy burden for him, and he struggled to keep up. Meanwhile, my daughters were happy to see him suffer for his betrayal. They promised to make me happy, and I know I'll get through this difficult road ahead. Being a single mother won't be easy, but with my amazing girls by my side, I'm confident we can make it. We'll work hard to ensure they can chase their dreams and be happy. It disgusts me that Kevin had an affair with a girl so close in age to his own daughter, but I'm proud of how my kids stuck together and turned the tables on him and his new lover. Here's to building a happy, strong family. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Stay stunned.